Good morning, everyone. Good morning, dear students. Good morning, dear listeners. As usual, today with you is me, Victoria Vlasova, Kiev, DELUXE Private School. And today, first of all, I wish you to have good mood, to have positive mood, to refresh your thoughts, your ideas, to drink a cup of coffee or a cup of morning tea. Because today we are going to speak about very challenging topic. Challenging for Ukraine, challenging for business, challenging for economics, and of course concerning business and money. So today we are highly going to speak about Ryanair, Irish company, cancels plan to start flights to Ukraine, and we are going to discuss the reasons why. We are going to discuss also the aspect of international Ukrainian Airlines and Mr. Kolomoisky, actually his reaction or his passive or active role in the participation of this conflict in the international arena. This conflict is highly considered to be a little bit corruptive. Of course, because too much money is involved into the procedure of this conflict. Good morning, dearest. Good morning, everyone. Oksana, Marina, Elena, Oleg, Nikolai. Today we're speaking about Ryanair cancels plan to start flights to Ukraine. Also, I would like to ask you, dear listeners and dear followers, either you have had a connection to Ryanair low-cost company, and probably some of you have bought the tickets, misleading bought the tickets. Well, if so, write to me in your commentaries what is your reaction to this problem, to this Ukrainian conflict that we have nowadays. If you have not had any problems, of course it's not the reason to write, but in your commentaries write the plot and the problematics, why it happened, your reaction to what happened with Ryanair in Ukraine, and actually the attitudes of further descriptives that we might have to Ukraine and the evidences that Ukraine will have with the company. Now I'm going to a little bit outskirt and make a review for you, like conclusive plan and plot what has happened. I do believe that you will be joined in the commentaries, because for me it's very important what is the public opinion and what opinion is yours concerning this business, economics and minister downside and black that we have had. So we know that there is a company Ryanair, it's Irish from Dublin, low-cost airline, and we know the fact that it has cancelled plans to start flying to Ukraine. It happened, the information that we had, it was 3 days ago, 10th of July. So they said on Monday that the main airport in Kiev, Boryspil Airport, had not honored terms agreed earlier this year. We also know the information that in March, April, there were negotiations with the Ministry of Ukraine, and we know the fact that the minister accepted the positions of cooperation with the Irish Airlines, and we also know the fact that the prices even were settled. Yes, there was signed a memorandum, and according to one of the positions, doubtfully, it was the first reason of very cheap flights of Ukrainians by Ryanair company. If we speak about actually the prices, the prices and the expenses that we had, the minister's signature on the memorandum, so he signed the next figures. So just I will open for you now the figures. If you know some standards for prices for price for tickets all around the world. Of course, write me if you agree or not and what you think about these prices, yeah. But I will name you actually the figures that are official according to the state tariff, yeah, for servicing the passengers. And I will give you the figures that actually were signed by our minister while negotiating and while signing the memorandum with the Irish low-cost Ryanair. So, speaking about the figures, normally the state tariff for servicing the passengers, it's $17, and actually for security, it's the payment, the separate payment, and this payment makes $3. So 17 for servicing and $3 for security of a passenger. But Irish company Ryanair was promised by our minister somehow other figures. So what are the figures? Not $17 for transporting, for servicing, but 7.5. Imagine $7.5 for servicing of one passenger, and considering $3 for the security. So according to standards, according to tariffs by Ukrainian legislation, yeah, and by the state tariffs, it's really the price very, very low, and somehow it might be considered as the corruptive element. If we have, dearest guests, if we have someone who knows the Ukrainian legislation and who can pretend and write us some numbers, either you agree or disagree, or probably you have some opinions and possess some other information, of course write to our commentaries, and it would be a good feedback to discuss a little bit later. Okay, so we continue speaking about Ryanair cancels plan to start flights to Ukraine. We have just discussed the tariffs, yes, for transporting, for air transporting of all airlines. And of course, now we will deal and we will talk about competition and somehow rival moment and issue between international Ukrainian airlines, yeah, in Ukraine it's MAU, we all know this word, who lives in Kiev, who lives in Ukraine, and we will discuss the main positions of concurrency, yeah, of contesting and confronting positions between Ukrainian international airlines and Ryanair company. Dearest, if you have what to say, if you want to comment, do it in the commentaries. I'm also glad and everyone is happy to read and to be involved in this hot topic that we have today. So I'm going on and talking about, of course, Ukrainian international airlines. We know exactly that it is a part owned by powerful tycoon Mr. Igor Kolomoisky. Of course, the press secretary, as far as I know, he denied in a statement that it had been lobbying to prevent a deal between Ryanair and Borispol, but my subjective opinion, I'm highly concerned that, of course, Ukrainian international airlines, they are highly involved and they were highly involved in negotiations, I do believe. Of course, I do not know where is the anti-monopoly committee in Ukraine and what is its position regarding this topic, and but it's probably nowadays shadowed and it will be open a little bit later if either some of airlines, international airlines, are going to have any kind of cooperation or relation to Ukrainian legislation, to Ukraine as a country. Okay, so talking about Ukrainian international airlines and Borispol airport, Of course, Kyiv Airport has chosen, first of all, to protect high-fare airlines and deprive Ukrainian consumers or visitors to access the Europe's lowest airfares, I think. Because in this case, of course, we might see the evidences that would occur. More and more, the majority of Ukrainians, of course, and not only Ukrainians, they would choose, of course, low cost and of course less prices. And actually the question what to do to Ukrainian international airlines and what would be the profit of this Ukrainian giant company. Olga, hello, on the way to airport. It's great. I know that you're in Milano. Yeah, I followed a little bit of your posts. By the way, Olga, you can write to us what airlines are your favorite and what airlines do you prefer, and have you heard in Europe about the small conflict, air conflict, or flight conflict that we have in Ukraine. If you know some about it, of course, write to the commentaries. It would be great to read and to have a little bit of international breath from you out on the problem that we have, corruptive problem, so to say, that we have in Ukraine. Now, okay, so of course, what we have, what is the consequence? Ryanair said in its statement, yes, that they regret also that both Kyiv and also they had correlation to Lviv airport, that they have fallen victims, yeah, to Kyiv airport decision and to Boryspil decision, Boryspil authorities decision. Of course, they are disappointed. Of course, they do not agree. But also we see the very veiled, so to say, yeah, veiled circumstances and veiled details that we have nowadays dealing with this position and with these problematics, because it's an interesting fact taken from Ukrainian and New York media, because I was analyzing both presses. Olga is writing to us. In Italy, I'm going to Dubai by Emirates. Okay, I do believe that with Emirates there is no problem at all, considering Ryanair Airlines and considering its cancellation of the plans to fly to Ukraine. Yes, so we go on talking about Ryanair cancels plan to start flights to Ukraine, and I was telling you that considering the media resources and the information that I have, I was contrasting the information by New York Times, by European media, by Ukrainian media, of course, and there is a very interesting, yeah, very essential, crucial information about the denying of involving of Ukrainian international airlines, of course. But still, we need to have, as I have previously told, the anti-monopoly committee in order to investigate the reason of low costing for this low-cost company, Irish company, the Boryspil intervention to this, and of course, Ukrainian international airlines dealing with it. Well, what we have for Ryanair and what we have for Ukraine, I also know, and I do believe that many of Ukrainians now have had a problem concerning purchasing tickets and concerning purchasing that the tickets have been bought and had been bought before, and what to do now. Probably some, I don't know about criminal, but administrative cases are going to be opened. And of course, I do believe that it will be settled a little bit somehow on the court and on the ministerial level. Because if we talk about, if we deal one more time with memorandum, with memorandum that had been signed with the ministry. Of course, we have not the right to neglect the information that too much sales and too much free solutions, not exactly free, but very primitive prices were suggested, and we cannot eliminate it. And of course that dealing with the legislation of Ukraine, we are coming back to this topic one more time. Of course, Irish company, it had been promised the conditions, yes, that not a single company, airline company in Ukraine, or even those of international that have had seats in Ukrainian arena, air arena, yeah, that they had in financial planning, yes, the definite amounts of such sales, yes, because the sales was about more than 20% out of the comparison of other airlines that we have in Ukraine. Well, so why our government and why the ministry promise such enormous and giant sales and discounts? Please also write your positions in the commentaries, because it's a very hot topic for today. The topic that deals, as I wrote in my posts, in my post both in Instagram and Facebook, it highly concerns business. It's not only politics, but it highly concerns business, money, of course, and big amount of money. And that's why the conflict that we see is somehow at top, yeah, at top of the problem that might have occurred and might occur probably in future also. So who has been involved in buying and purchasing tickets, or probably you, dear guests and followers, have the information about somehow other low-cost companies that officially stand in Ukraine, and probably your positive or negative experiences that you had with the prices, or that you have not had with prices. Please write to us in your commentaries. It would be a good background to discuss and to continue the further discussions. Well, if we take considering the Irish side and considering the Irish opinion, by the way, if we have someone from Ireland, from Northern Ireland, from Dublin, also write to us what press says about this scandal. I have some information. I will tell you a little bit later about it. Yeah, so how do you think, and what information we have from Ireland? Of course, first of all, it's the position of future scandal, yeah, because they threaten the media, the authorities, they threaten to have the international scandal, because we have and we see the appearance of the commentaries of the representatives from other companies, international companies, and most of them, they do support exactly the Irish company Ryanair. Well, and of course now their position, Irish position, is to put on all forces, legislative forces, economic forces, in order to liberalize and stimulate the aviation sphere and their air sphere. But of course they do surprise, and for them it was like a big push, I do believe a big push, that they had a promise, they had a memorandum previously signed, yes, and they were supposed to have the special conditions and a special business model. Well, but nowadays we have what we have, they have what they have, and of course the questions, and of course the sub-questions, yes, and demands to National Anti-Corruptive Bureau, of course they are going to be arisen, and they are going to be settled. And I do believe that considering the political level, it will be one of downsides for Ukraine. Exactly dealing with the situation, international situation regarding different questions, not only international, but also the situation like inside, exterior of Ukraine. We have so many problems that this problem hadn't had to occur for Ukrainian image, for the reputation of Ukraine as a country. But unfortunately, we have it, we have this position, and I don't know exactly who is going to settle it out, and to settle it out in the international arena. Of course, such surnames as I have told about Mr. Kolomoisky, about our minister Amelyan, and some other figures, political and business figures, tycoons from Ukraine. Yeah, of course, this situation should be arisen one more time. It should be dug deeper. We should have highly concerned of the continuation of lobbying interests for international airlines in Ukraine. And of course, the question of Ukrainian international alliance is going to be settled over and erosion. But how it will be concerned, we will see. We will follow in the future in media and in other detailed consequences. Well, what else is interesting to negotiate? Actually, we do not have any further information about other low costs that we have, like Wizz Air, if you know some other names, just write me also. But it's true that we need to discuss, and we need to look more profound in why the special conditions that not a single other company had, airline company had, yeah, why they were serviced and why they were given exactly to Irish company, yeah. And it's not out of skirts on the media level, yeah, but we might see the some deepen and underflood streams out of this dealing and out of this concerning. Well, so of course, as we told previously, not only Kiev suffered, yeah, because not only planned new routes to Kiev were settled in March while negotiations, but also another city like Lviv. For Lviv, it was also, I think, as for the western cities, we say Lviv as a western capital of Ukraine. Of course, it was a high deal to attract more tourists and to attract more investments even to Lviv, yes, and for some cooperative trips and travels, yeah. It could have opened highly and widely the position of Lviv to Europe, and vice versa, of Europe to Lviv. But unfortunately now Lviv stayed without Ryanair, as well as Boryspil and Kiev city, Kiev as a capital. Well, so regarding highly, either it is a conflict or not, either it is a corruptive conflict or not, it's for you, dear students, to decide, to settle out. And if you wish, of course, you can write in your commentaries as usual. You can find some other interesting links if you have. Of course, every time when we are discussing the hottest topics and the topics, of course, we might go on with their discussion in commentaries after the live stream is finished. Well, so for today, I have tried to manage and to output and to talk about the essential, the most essential, the hardest problems about Ryanair, reasons of cancelling their plans to start flights. We talked about political level, economic level, we talked about some figures, I mean personalities, tycoon personalities and ministerial personalities that were involved in in this problem. And I do believe that for you it was a good stimulus to open some English speaking, English and American press, and to read more about this hot plot for today's for Ukraine. Thank you that you stayed with me. I do believe that you have had an essential information and good English for your ears and a good topic to discuss. We will see each other next week, and I wish you to have perfect, bright Thursday today without any problems, and I wish you to have good flights without any problems wherever you visit. All the best for you, and see you very, very soon. Good luck!